What's up, everybody? Welcome into A to Z Sports Picks. Brian and I are going to have a great show for you this Friday and get you ready for the betting weekend. Brian, it's good to see you, buddy. We got another loaded day of college basketball. It feels like, honestly, for bettors, it's like Christmas Eve.
I mean, it is paradise. We've got bets, ball games before noon till past midnight. Way into we got a Colorado USC game that might not tip off till midnight Eastern during the feel-good hours of Friday evening. Happy Friday, buddy. This is going to be a fun one.
It really is, man. Happy Friday to you, too. And, yesterday, Thursday really felt like the start of it. And it's like Christmas Day over and over and over because you're right. We have so many games that are going on, and I can't wait to break them down with you. And it's going to be a fun show, man. And we appreciate everybody tuning in. So like I said, welcome into the A to Z Sports Picks. I'm Alan Bell, CBS Sportsline, alongside Brian Edwards of VegasInsider.com. A to Z Sports Picks is brought to you by every Tuesday and Friday by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Everyone, make sure to download that app right now. And if you use promo code A to Z Sports, you receive a risk-free bet of up to $600. There's no better time to do it than right now. That's BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. Must be 21 years or older. Must be present in Tennessee. For gambling problem support, call the Tennessee Red Line at 800-889-9789. So, Brian, like we were just saying, this really is phenomenal. Like yesterday, Thursday, it felt like the perfect day of sports. I mean, there was college basketball all over the place. And you bring up a great point, too, that we've got games early in the morning. We've got games all day. We've got games at night. It's one of those where, and we'll talk about this as we get deeper in the show, it's one of those days where you kind of have to go in with a plan. Like you have to kind of understand what the schedule is because you could get lost in the sauce very easily. I caught myself yesterday about 2:30. And there's just a million games going on, right? Like I had bets going all over the place. It was wild, man. But I'll tell you what, let's just jump in right now. It's Friday. We don't want to waste any time. Let's break down this Florida-Tennessee game. We got a really good one coming up, 1:30 p.m. Central here in Nashville, Tennessee at Bridgestone Arena in the SEC basketball tournament. The latest lines, Brian, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I've got Tennessee as a 4.5-point favorite. Florida plus 175 on the money line, and we've got a total of 133.5. Does that look correct to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. All right, and let's just break down a couple others here. We've got the first half total 62.5, and the spread being plus or minus 2.5. So, Brian, you are a Florida Gators aficionado. You know this team very well. Break this game down for us. What are we looking at?
Okay, so they met the first time in Gainesville, and Colin Castleton's the starting center. And Scotty Lewis, who's kind of been in and out of the starting lineup most of the year, he had and actually he wasn't hurt for that first game. He was, I don't know if he had COVID or if it was contact tracing, but he missed at least 5 games, maybe 6. But anyway, Lewis is one of Florida's better players, certainly one of their better NBA prospects. He still he needs to put on some more muscle and stuff, but he's a solid college player and very athletic. Without him and Castleton, Florida wins by 26. I thought that was Tennessee's worst game of the season. So then on Sunday, Florida's Trey Mann, who is on fire and carried them to victory yesterday against Vandy. And I saw a tweet with the last 4 games, he's averaging 22 points, 7 assists, and shooting 62% from the field.
Yeah.
He was back at the hotel with a migraine, couldn't go on Sunday, yet Florida jumped out to a 31-17 lead. But from there, Tennessee went in lockdown mode defensively. Florida couldn't buy a bucket pretty much the rest of the game. And they only scored 20-something points the last 27, 28 minutes of the game. And Tennessee rolled, covered, and won by double digits. So now the trilogy, the rubber match, and Florida will be full strength for the first time. But Florida played yesterday, twice, 2 games in 2 days, whereas Tennessee didn't. So maybe Tennessee's got a little fresher legs. I don't think that matters as much today in this game. We'll talk about some other games later where it does matter. North Carolina's playing their 3rd game in 3 days, and FSU's playing its first game because of the Duke COVID stuff yesterday. Yeah. So there's your kind of go ahead.
No, not to interrupt you. I wanted to hit on that point right there. And not necessarily on this game right here, but as a whole, like I've kind of been studying the conference tournaments in terms of what I'm expecting in the NCAA tournament, and exactly that of teams that are playing, back-to-back games, one every other day, so to say, right? And how far does their, shooting percentage go down? How many shots per game do they get up? Is it more? Is it less, right? Like I could be wrong on this, but I feel like this is a little bit of kind of like in college when you had an exam, but if you came like that Friday, the professor would go over a lot of the questions that would be on that test, right? So I kind of feel like this is a little bit of that, and we're learning. And I could be completely wrong on that, but I feel like this is a nice little preview of teams of what you're going to see, how they play tournament style, because some teams are different in the regular season than we get, in a tournament factor. So, yeah, I just wanted to hit on that, and we'll talk more about it in terms of the tournament overall. But, yeah, I thought you brought up a good point. So I'm going to put you on the spot right here. Buddy. All right. Make some picks. What do you got? Who do you got in this game on the spread?
I'm leaving the total alone. I'm just going with the Gators plus 4.5. They're a totally different team with Trey Mann, and we'll never know how that game would have worked out in Knoxville and whatever. It doesn't matter at this point. But I think with Trey Mann, I like Florida on a neutral court. I know we're up in Tennessee, but I don't really feel like fans are much of a factor. I mean, I know there are fans, but I mean,
not many. Yeah.
It's a big arena, and there's not that many fans there. So, I'm going to go with the Gators, and I'm going to take them on the money line as well. I'm going to go plus 175 money line. Now, obviously, for money management purposes, I like the, let's say if you're going $200 as your bankroll just for this game specifically, I would say like 150 on Florida and 50 on the money line. I mean, make sure you if Florida doesn't win outright, but they cover, you're still a nice size profit.
Yeah, I'm with you. You know what? I'm going to go the opposite route, though. You said you're not playing the total. I'm not playing the spread. I don't trust it either way. I think Tennessee wins this game, but I don't trust them. I was looking at the first half, and my heart wanted to take Tennessee because I think that they're overall a better team, just out there, right? But I don't trust them in the first half. And exactly like you said, Florida's coming in full strength. So I didn't want to mess with the first half spread. And then I looked on the second half and I was like 4.5. That's almost just too much. So, and then I looked at Tennessee money line and I think it's minus 190, somewhere around there. And it's just too much juice for me. So I'm going the opposite route. I'm playing the under 133.5. And again, that's a pretty low number. But if you look, all right, you look, both regular season games between the Gators and Vols went under. All right, the first matchup had a total of 124 points. The second matchup had a total of 119 points. Florida 6-1 in the under in its last 7 games. Tennessee 6-2 to the under away from home. So I'm just going to play the numbers on this one. I'm going to go with the under. Now, I will say this. BetMGM has a really nice Lions boost that if anybody out there is feeling Tennessee, take a look at this boost here that BetMGM has. They've got Tennessee to score 70-plus points at plus 130. So if you're feeling Tennessee, especially minus 4.5, they almost have to get to 70 to cover that. Would you agree? I mean, they've got to get – I don't think that they're going to win 68-63. I think somebody's going to have to get there. So take a look at that. I mean, again, I'm not playing the spread, so I'm not coming out with it. But if you are, take a look at that one, especially if you're feeling Tennessee. But again, I'm going to ride the under 133.5, and I'm going to keep my eye on it because I think some people might bet the over, and right before tip might be able to get it at 134.5, somewhere around there, and go with that. Any other thoughts, Brian, that you have on this game?
You almost talked me into the under. Yeah. I mean, like you said, 119 combined last week. But again, now we got to think about Trey Mann.
Yep.
Not being there. Florida struggled offensively, but still, I mean, let's say they scored 11 more points. I mean, you're still at 130, and that's under the line we're looking at for today. So, I liked all your points. I'm going with the Gators. You like the under. I suspect we'll both win.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really good game. And Danny in the chat says he got the under at 134.5. I love it, man. Like, it's a smart call. And it's one of those where sometimes good bets lose, bad bets can win. Like, I feel like playing the numbers in this one in the under is a smart bet. But again, I've lost a lot of smart bets before, so let me say that.
Well, a good example of that is any time you lose an under because the game goes to overtime. And Yes,
Yeah.
by the way, I added a third overtime underdog for a loser yesterday. That makes 3 in 2 weeks. I had St. John's plus. I even had on one of my bets, I had plus 3.5, kind of like 10 minutes before tip, but most of my money was plus 3, and they lose in overtime, just like our West Virginia Baylor game that you were on the. You got a wrong side winner on that, and I had the Boise State, San Diego State overtime plus.
I had no business covering that Baylor game, by the way. I mean that thing was just wild.
A win is a win. You take your wins, Alan.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, we'll move into the next segment here, what we call the Friday Parlay. And really what we're going to do is we're each going to play a parlay of what we have of games all across the board. Today could be college basketball, could be NBA, could be NHL, could be a mix of anything. And it could be as many legs. And we'd love to see what parlays you guys have going on. So put them in the chat, put them on Twitter. And again, everyone make sure download that BetMGM app. They've got some really, really great parlays. I feel like they do as well as anyone. Book-wise, in terms of the parlay options, et cetera, things like that. So everybody make sure to get that BetMGM app. So, Brian, I'm going to jump ahead on this one.
Go ahead.
If you go first the last time, I'm going to go with a little 3-leg parlay today. All right. I've got Morgan State money line. I've got Baylor money line, and I've got the North Texas, Louisiana Tech over of 126.5. And if anybody is playing that game, especially the total of 126.5, it's been dropping. So you might be able to find it at 125, 125.5, somewhere around there. Again, it's a lower marquee game for sure. But that 3-leg parlay right there pays out plus 255. That's what I'm rolling with, my man. What you got?
All right. I am going to go with a 4-leg parlay that pays a plus 1/4. I wish it paid plus 14.35. No, it pays plus 4.35. So here we go. Illinois money line against Rutgers minus 350. Oregon minus 400 versus Oregon State. And by the way, Oregon has won 11 of its last 12 games. And then we're going to go over 147 on Oklahoma State Baylor. And I'll give you some stats on why I like that here shortly. And then the last leg, and this is what I like, and Alan and I have talked to how we like. I mean, ideally, it doesn't always work out like this. You should always have your best games in the parlay, but ideally, you like your last leg to be in a time slot where you have the results of the first 3, and hopefully, obviously, that you hit the first 3, and then you set yourself where you can potentially hedge. And like I noted a little while ago, this Colorado Southern Cal game probably isn't going to start until around midnight Eastern, maybe 11:40ish or so. The early evening, the game 1 of the evening session at the Pac-12 tourney has to be over, and then 30 minutes after that. So let me repeat: Illinois money line, Oregon money line, over 147 Oklahoma State Baylor, and Colorado -1 versus USC. And if the first three hit, Colorado will stand alone, and you'll have Colorado at plus 430, as if a money line play plus 435, and you can maybe come back with a little USC if you want, or you let it ride just to hedge a little bit to ensure some profit. So that pays plus 435.
That's brilliant. I really we've talked about it obviously multiple times, but I really do like that strategy where you give yourself an out, and that's a brilliant play right there. So yeah, that's what the parlays that we have for today. And Brian, I really like yours. I think I'm going to ride with you on that exactly. I really like that a lot, especially with the strategy like you said tonight. Yeah.
Hey, I'm sorry. I was looking for my pen while you were announcing your parlay. I was over here on my drawer trying to find my pen.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what your parlay was again?
Yeah. Let me run through it again. Yep. I've got Morgan State money line. I've got the Baylor money line, and I've got North Texas, Louisiana Tech over of 126.5. Okay.
What odds or those? Well, you only have one money line parlay, right? So that probably has good odds.
Yeah.
Well, it was Morgan State. What? I don't even know what their favorite.
Well, it's plus 255 total.
Oh, okay, that's good odds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Cool.
Yep, that's what I'm rolling with. All right. So next segment here, future is now. What we want to do? Let's take a look at the NCAA tournament. All right, we're right here. All right, we got Selection Sunday coming up. this Sunday night. We're going to have brackets that are out. This is about your last time, really, to get some decent odds here in terms of who's going to win the NCAA tournament. So, Brian, I'll kick it to you first. Who's winning the tournament, man? What are you putting money on?
Okay, well, these odds came from Circa. And for those not familiar with Circa, it's their sportsbook is like the new biggest sportsbook in the world, but I haven't been to Vegas in like a year because of COVID. And but anywho, they offer a lot more generous odds than most books, which I love, obviously. So I'm going to tell you what I have at Circa, but don't expect to be able to get that anywhere. But our good friends at BetMGM may have just as generous of odds. I'm not sure. I haven't seen those. But I looked on the Circa app this morning. Oklahoma State, which is hot as a firecracker, 7-1, both straight up and against the spread.
Yeah.
In its last 8 games, the only loss being at Baylor, and they covered for me in that game. And as an underdog this year, that doesn't really matter with the future bet, but I'll mention it because I like Baylor +9 or Oklahoma State +9 against Baylor. And Alan can still hit his Baylor money line for Parlay. Everybody can win. We can all win here.
There we go.
But I will mention it nonetheless because I like Oak State at +9 to Baylor. They are 11-3 against the spread with 9 outright wins in 14 games as an underdog. But their future number is 47-1. And I really feel like this team is really, just coming together. I mean, even without Cunningham and the other guy, Likalele, they still won outright at West Virginia. Cunningham and that guy come back yesterday. They beat West Virginia again. And West Virginia is still a Sweet 16 team to me, minimum.
Yeah.
But they've had 2 tough losses to Oak State here in the last week. So Oklahoma State is 47-1 at Circa. But look, if you can get 30 to 35-1, I think it's worth a shot. And as always, and we can talk about it more in shows in the coming weeks, if you're still holding a Oklahoma State 30 to 35-1 ticket and they make the Sweet 16, I can give you some strategies where you can hedge and make sure you make a profit. The other one, Arkansas at 65-1. Arkansas, what have they won? SEC games, they've won either 10 or 11 in a row. They did have a narrow loss at Oklahoma State and Stillwater sandwiched in the middle of that. They're 65-1 at Circa, but if you can get them at 45, 50-1, I think they're worth a shot as well. So Arkansas and Oklahoma State. And again, I'm not saying they're going to win it all, but if they get to the Sweet 16, Elite 8, or definitely if they get to the Final Four, we're going to make some money with some hedges.
Yeah, I like it. Now, yours was exciting, man. I'm going to go the opposite route. Are you ready for the most boring play of all time? All time.
You going to go Baylor, Gonzaga, or Gonzaga?
Gonzaga, +220. Why would I not? Honestly, I don't know if anybody can beat this team. I really don't. Once they get to the tournament, they might play 3 tough games, 2, right? I just don't know if anybody can beat this team. And the reason being is that it's not like Gonzaga shows up and scores 90, but they'll put 79 on you. They'll put 81 on you. And generally, you're not getting above 65. I mean,
they'll put 90 on you occasionally as well.
I mean, they can, right? Like, they just don't have to. Like, this team is so much better than people think. And I feel like it's one of those. Now, don't get me wrong. Coaches are obviously doing their scouting. But I feel like it's one of those teams where not a lot of people have really watched Gonzaga. And they're going to look up, in the tournament or in, the conference championships, except whatever. And they're going to look up and say, dear God, how did I miss out on this team? They're just phenomenal. And I don't know how you get them. You're not going to beat them defensively. They're going to put up points on you. And they could play pretty good, just enough amount of defense to just – there's just nothing you could do. So, I mean, I know that I just gave you the most boring scouting report of all time that was full of nothing and just empty cliches, but this team is really good. I looked across the board and I thought to myself, why would I tie in any amount of money on anyone else? Don't get me wrong. Baylor can win it. Michigan can win it. Ohio State can win it. There's some good teams. But if I'm putting money and tying it up in the future, I'm going Gonzaga. And
Jalen Suggs might be the best player in the tournament, unless it's my guy, Cade Cunningham, for Oklahoma State.
Yeah, no kidding. And, and I was laughing like when you were breaking down in terms of, I think you said Arkansas. that had lost a close one to Oklahoma State. I feel like everybody's lost to Oklahoma State. Like this team's a lot of fun, man. It really, really is. All right, so let's jump into the last one, the last segment that we have here. And normally, we leave everybody with a piece of betting advice. And definitely, I want to hear yours, Brian. But we're going to do this one with a little bit of twist. We got some questions in here in the chat in terms of some games that are going on today. So I want to hit on, Danny Whitson asked about Bama covering 7.5 against Mississippi State. I want to hit on that.
They're up 67-33, Danny. So I like your chances if you hit the points.
There we go. But what I really want to do, Brian, is I just want to have a little Q&A with you real quick. Just in regards to betting, the final couple days of conference tournaments that we have. Selection Sunday coming out. We get the brackets. We've got the tournament coming up next week, right? So what are you looking at? Like, where is your mind at as a bettor? And let me say this. We have a lot of people that are going to be betting on games. We have a lot of people that might kind of start betting for the first time. Okay, so we're going to have differing levels here of, from experts to roundabout guys like us, just people that are brand new to sports betting. So give me your thoughts. What's on your mind?
Yeah. So, well, just like I mentioned earlier, you got to look for things like North Carolina's playing its third game in 3 days, and FSU didn't have to play yesterday. They're playing their first game. I got another example which ties in, and let me be frank here. I mean, I would like Colorado -1 or 1.5 against USC regardless, but this circumstance happened late last night. USC and Utah went to 2 overtimes. Therefore, USC has 2 Mobley kids. One of the Mobley kids played 47 minutes last night. Edey played 44 minutes. Peterson played 43 minutes. The other Mobley kid played 37 minutes. And Anderson and White played 30 and 26 minutes respectively. Okay, Colorado played last night as well. And they had a close game, but no overtimes. McKinley Wright, their star player, he played 34 minutes. They only had one other guy that played more than 30 minutes, and that was 31 minutes. So USC may be fine in the first half, but come second half, I would anticipate fatigue, tired legs, and them coming up short on perimeter jumpers. And again, I would like Colorado anyway, but the fact that all those guys played those major minutes last night, and here they are playing the very next day, to me that adds 3 to 4 points in a handicapping factor, and it makes me go from liking Colorado to loving Colorado tonight.
I love it. Now, any thoughts on when we get to the first day of the tournament? All right. So all these teams, like you said, we're going to have some teams that literally go 4 straight days of playing, teams that win their conference tournaments, 4 straight days, and a team that loses a conference tournament, or a team that makes it to Saturday, et cetera, right? And then you're going to get Selection Sunday. You're going to get the hype about that. And then teams have some days off. Now, they're scouting a team that they've probably never played, that they've probably never seen. What are your thought processes going in to the first day of the tournament? Is there anything that you look for? Do you play, more totals, more overs, more unders? Do you look at double-digit type spreads in terms of, 16-1, a 15-2? Does the 12 over 5 still apply? That used to be the rule for about 15 years, right? So what are your thoughts just going into the first round, the first 2 rounds of betting the NCAA tournament?
Well, unless I've got a team that I have, for whatever reason, monitored really well during the year, which in most cases, I'm not that familiar with 14, 15, and 16 seeds. And those lines are usually 20 points or more. Unless I know a lot about that underdog team and whatever maybe the 3 seed had to play 4 games in 4 days, in their conference tournament, which is, talking about this weekend.
Yeah.
And then they play their 4th game on Sunday in the finals, and it goes overtime. And then the committee dicks them, and they have to go out west from east and play Thursday in the afternoon, unless there's some circumstance like that. I normally throw those 116, 215, 314 games out and just don't even spend any time on them again, unless I'm familiar with the underdog team. So I try to focus on the games and teams that I have watched the most and I'm the most familiar with. I mean, I know that sounds real vanilla, but
I think it's honest.
There's no need to waste any time. I mean, you don't want to lay 30, 35 points on a 116 game. So, I mean, that's just one thought process that came to mind.
No, I love it, man. And there's going to be more, and it's much easier to do it, when we have a bracket in front of us that we can actually take a look at tangible results. And Tuesday, on the show next week, obviously we'll have the bracket in hand. We'll be able to look at it. We'll have spreads, and trust me, everybody, we're going to break the hell down of this tournament next week. So make sure to tune in both Tuesday and Friday. But yeah, I'm with you. There are some pitfalls in the tournament to be had, right? But there's also, the kind of the same way that I played Gonzaga in terms of the futures bet. There's a lot of just don't overthink it. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to have a 1-16, and you're going to be looking at a spread that's 18 to say 21, somewhere around there, whatever. There's a reason for it generally, right? Like, these teams are a lot better than the team they're going up against. So yeah, I mean, we'll be able to break it down Tuesday, a lot more tangibly. But I think that's my biggest takeaway from it is don't overthink it, and certainly have a plan. You guys know me. I get made fun of, of like an old grandmother because I write everything down. But when the tournament gets here, write things down, man. Like, because there's so many games and so many things going on. Track your teams, track your bets that you have going on through the week. See where the spreads are going up, going down, where the totals are going up, going down. It's also one of those where, say the first day, I might have 6 bets going, but 4 of them might be on the same game, right? Because I've taken it. I like a spread at, say, 3.5, and then it dropped to 2.5, and I doubled down on it, right? So, again, there's a lot more ways to play it, and we'll break it all down Tuesday. But, yeah, Brian, any final thoughts you have before we close out this week and get back to watching some basketball, put some bets in?
Yeah, brother, I do have some thoughts. I want to share a couple more picks.
Bonus picks. I like it. Oh, and side note, real quick, were you talking about Catino Mobley's kids?
Are they both Catino Mobley's kids?
No, I was asking. I do not know.
I don't know. But I know Catino Mobley, he had a beauty lefty jumper for the
I know. I was going to say, I feel really old after that. All right, so go ahead. Keep going, man.
Maybe it is Catino. Well, one of them is really tall, so
maybe it's not.
I tend to doubt it.
I just heard Mobley, and I was like, oh, man, if those are Catino's kids, dude, I feel really old now. Now, go ahead. Keep going. What do you got?
Yeah. So, the listeners have been hearing me talk about this trend for a while, but since it hit again last night and we're seeing one of the lower numbers we've seen on it in a while, I will nonetheless note again that I'm going to be on the Pelicans over tonight. It's 228.5 or 229. Hit again last night to improve to 27-5 since January 2nd. And let me also throw in there, one of the unders was when Zion at like 10 minutes before the game was all of a sudden out. And JJ Redick wasn't playing in that game either, but Redick is out for this game tonight as well. But the Cavs are getting Larry Nance Jr. back, and even Kevin Love is questionable, so he may play as well. And it's one of the, we've been getting most New Orleans totals in the high 230s or 240s. This one is in the 220s. We haven't seen many of those during this 32 game stretch. I also want to hit on how I am going to be on the Oklahoma. I mean, I like Oklahoma State better, plus the 9, but I'll also have a play on the over. And here's why. The over has cashed at a 17-6 clip for Oklahoma State in its last 23 games. And the over is on a 9-1 run for Baylor. In their 2 regular season meetings, they had 151 combined points in Waco. The other one, they only had 147 combined points, but Cunningham did not play, and Oklahoma State was also missing other starters because of COVID. It only dressed out 8 players, and it got to 147, and tonight's total is 148, or there may be some 147 and a halves out there. And so it got there anyway without Cunningham. And Yeah. So that, and then I had another pick I was going to add. Well, I told you about the Colorado pick. Told you about Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Told you about Florida. Told you about the Pelicans. Okay, so I think we're set on my plays. I will also note, I don't know that I like it tonight, but I will tell you the over's on a 6-1 run for FSU. The Hawks are not playing tonight, but the over's on a 12-3 run for them. And Colorado, I'm not going to play the under tonight, but I'll tell you that the under is on an 8-1 run. And like when Vandy took the lead on Florida yesterday, I said on Twitter, jump all over Florida -2.5 in game. When I see games all day today, I will be tweeting in-game recommendations at BetMGM, our good friends over there. They will have in-game lines all day. So if you want to follow me on Twitter at Vegas, B Edwards, and I also do some work for Major Wager, and I am sometimes tweeting injury info, etc., at their Twitter account, which is at Major Wager Uno. If any of y'all want to follow that, and
you're a good follow. No, I'm telling you, you're a really good follow because I'm a big live bettor.
Yeah.
And you put it out there, really at the great times of when to take it, when to take a look, when to monitor, numbers to be looking for, and when it gets that one.
Sometimes I think, Alan, I should just quit betting pregame and just bet in game. And I might end up doing that one day.
I'm telling you, man, there's a market for it, man. And you're really good at it. So, yeah, everybody, we really appreciate everybody tuning in. And like we said, even though the show ends here, the conversation always continues on Twitter. So hit us up. Let us know what you're taking. Let us know what you're looking at. And like we just talked about, make sure to follow Brian. He's got some really good insight if you are a live bettor. So for Brian Edwards, I'm Alan Bell. Let's cash some tickets.
Good luck with your bets all.